So in this next tutorial video, which we're going to look at the canopy and how we fix that. Because currently, obviously, if we press the button, we don't get the opening of the canopy. So the first thing we need to do is do a search for canopy, and we're looking for the canopy interactable. And the reason for that is that it takes us to the point, or will take you to the point where you can find where the canopy animator is. You don't need to worry about any of this, because obviously if we zoom in on that, we can see that it's this switch in here, which we already know about from previously and in the TJS as well. But we have the switch there, we just now need to fix how it actually works. So this interactable is the one that actually does the work here. So if I see on the right hand side here, you've got the lever and the interactable. We don't worry about the interactable, we're more worried about the lever here. It has two states, etc. That's fine for what we're trying to do. So all we're bothered about is it currently links via onset state. So when we press it on, it links to the canopy animator and does canopy animator set canopy state. And that's fine. So what we need to do is find the canopy animator. So if we click on it there, it brings up canopy animator here. Okay. And in here we can see there's actually a component for canopy animator. Now let's have a look at this. Got a few things I suppose that we need to be aware of. There's a canopy pivot transform, so that does tell you where that canopy is going to go to. So if I click on that, actually it shows you down here that's where the canopy animator is. We then got the F117 info. We have an animator for the canopy, the animation canopy name, how long it takes, etc. So the thing that we're really interested in here are the two things here, which is the canopy pivot and the canopy pivot animator. So what we need to have a look at is the canopy pivot. Now I'm going to lock this one in here just so it stays with us on that screen there, so we can go back to it whenever we want. I don't think anything is locked, but that one's locked. So if we now move off and we click on the canopy pivot over here, you can see that stays there, and if we move on to a different inspector, we can see the canopy animator. That's fine. So you can see that that's probably from the TJS's canopy animator for that pivot for that instead. So what we first need to do is we need to find where the pivot is for this canopy here, or for your canopy. And you can see actually we have the canopy already set up, and hopefully, if I'm correct, I'm hoping that actually the canopy pivot's actually already set up for me. I might be wrong though. So how do I find that out? Well, that's the highest level piece, so hoping that that canopy pivot sits underneath it. If it doesn't, we're going to have to fix that. So first off, what we can do is move out those pieces, move them underneath there. And as you can see, the canopy doesn't sit on a pivot, unfortunately. So what we're going to have to do is create an empty object. So we'll create an empty object underneath it and call it canopy pivot F117. Come back to the scene. And actually, somewhat neatly, that's in the right place. Okay, let's move that to there. Okay, ignore what I was saying then. So I was wrong. I didn't need to do any of that. It's because I didn't have it set to the right thing. That was dumb. You can see actually up here at the top left, you can toggle where the tool handle is, and it actually shows the pivot. So that's my fault for not checking it was on pivot, not on the standard one. So okay, so we just move everything else underneath it. I thought that was the case. I thought that the canopy did have a correct pivot. I thought it was odd that I hadn't done that. But okay, so we can see that it's got the correct pivot point in the right place when we look at the pivot point. So actually, once we're in here, all we need to do now is move canopy pivot into there. That's first job done. Now what we need to do is go back to here and look at the canopy pivot animator. And you can see it has a relatively simple set, which is it just has an animator underneath it with a canopy animator for that animation controller. So if we come back to go to our one, the top, and all we need to do is actually add an animator. Okay. Now what we need to do is we need to find the original one on here. So we go back to here, Canopy Pivot Animator, click on it, and then we've got the Tejas Canopy Animator here. So we click that, you can see it's here, already exists here. And what we can do is we can click on it, right click on it. Actually, we can't do that way. You have to click on it there and do Control and D, and that will duplicate it. So we now have Canopy Animator 1, Canopy Animator. So okay, we'll change the name of that Canopy Animator 1 to F117. So now we have one for F117. And underneath here, you can see it has various bits and pieces. So what we'll need to do is if we double click on this, it opens up the Canopy Animator for us. That's fine, nothing else to do there. You can see that it has two states, entry and canopy. As you remember before on here, Canopy is the name of the animation name, which is that one there. So that's fine. So now we click on this, double click it, and go back to our state here. Oh, don't need to double click actually. Click on it once and it tells you there is a Canopy animation motion sensor here, or an animation here. So we double click on that one. It takes us down to here, Tejas Canopy Anims _not. So what we do is duplicate that one by pressing Control and D. And as you can see, it's now called _not 1. Press F2, delete that, and create a new one called F117 Canopy Animator. So okay, we now have a Canopy Animator completely on its own. That's fine. If we now double click on this, you can see that actually we have a current setting for the animation. And that's actually based off the wrong thing. So what we need to do is click Remove Properties. Come all the way up to the top and click on our new Canopy animation. What we're going to do is from here, we're going to select our new one, which is the F117 Canopy Animator. Come into here, select our new F117 Canopy Animator in there. Click on that one. And now when we click here, and click on Canopy Animation and Canopy Main now, we can have properties. And what we can do is we can click on the transform because we know we're in the right place there. And we can click on rotate. And that will add the option to rotate for the animation. So what we know is it's along the blue axis there, so Z. And obviously no animation exists right now. So what we're going to do is if we come onto here and type in 90, you can see it animates. That's in the wrong direction, so what we might want to do is do -40. Does that look about right? That looks about right. We're going to ignore the pistons for now. Pistons are a whole other problem in themselves. We'll fix that later. But fundamentally, we now have a working animation. It's closing, open, closing, open. Now, that's actually the wrong way around, as you can see. So what we want to do is put 0 in here, bring our marker down to the end over here, and put -40 in there. Now when we press play, can see. Open, close, open, close, open, close. Okay, so we fixed that now. So we now have a correctly opening Canopy animation. All we now need to do is actually go back to our interactable, Canopy, find our interactable, and instead of pointing where it used to point, which was at this one, what we need to find is the Canopy animation for that one. So we click on lock there, I'll hold that in place, and we come up to the top for Canopy animation. Oops, not that one. In here, Canopy animation, we drag our animator into there. Oh, wrong, sorry. No. Sorry, go to Canopy animator. Find the Canopy animator in here. I thought I was doing something wrong there. So we've got the Canopy animator open there with the Canopy animator thing. Click on the lock to lock that down. We now go back up to the top here and drag the animator into there. Apologies. So now you have Canopy animate, transform, Canopy animator, and it should theoretically work from there on out. So obviously, once we double click on that, F117 animator has the F117 Canopy animator in there. Open F117 Canopy animator. Everything's working. So all we now need to do is assign that to the prefab. Build it out, and then we'll test it. Okay, so let's see if we can start from here. Go to mods, 117 loaded, select pilot, 117, configure it. We're not going to put any weapons in anyway yet, so we'll launch it, see whether that works. There we go, well, we've got an open canopy, it's a good start. Battery on, this canopy down, there we go. Animated canopy. What do you know? Back up again. Yep, works fine. So we can see it from the outside. Well, that's not quite what I intended. Obviously. There we go. Open and close canopy. Pretty much. Excellent. Job done. As easy as that. We'll fix the pistons later, once we look at pistons as a general thing, because that's a whole bunch of problems of its own, right? But yeah, we'll fix that later. That's not such a big problem. A little bit faffing with that, that's usually the issue.